All right. Yep. Just need. Are we on? Are we on?
And then let me get.
All right. Hello, Instagram. Yeah, just turn this microphone on for me, just a tad. That would be helpful, so I can see myself. Good. Where'd my team via air replacing them? Yeah. All right.
That's just the hook. I got the question.
Sweet. All right. Good. Let's go.
Is that live?
Let's go. Yeah. All right, everybody. Instagram, nice to see you. How are you? Nice to see you everywhere around the world. We are YouTube Live. We are Instagram Live. Another episode of Coffee with Goffy. This is your moment. This is your chance to shine. This is where we bring the global community together. We are going to be live for the next 60 minutes. So I'm going to answer all of your questions. Type into the chat. Jordan, nice to see you. Active Motion Injury Clinic. Hello. Natalie Jackson, 1985, joined. Nice to see you as well. Alison Felt, I think I can see you in there as well. Type into the chat when you come in, say hello, tell me who you are, tell me where you're from. Let's get this show on the road. This is your moment. I just answer your questions, and almost all of the questions come at me unfiltered, which is how I like it. I like the hot mics, and I like the tough questions, and there are some tough questions. There's a few questions starting to get a little bit political, which is fun. So we might have to tackle a few of them as well at some point over the next few weeks. We are live, Coffee with Goffy mugs. We've got some new hoodies and merch. And what do you think of these? Hang on. For you guys on Instagram, new coffee, not coffee. We've got new Paulie I merch out now as well, sponsored by Oakley. We've just done a brand deal with Oakley. What do you think of that? You guys on YouTube, Instagram, we are we're moving and shaking. The Paulie I platform is moving. So type into the chat when you come in. Let me know how you are. What's good? What have I been up to? Well. We just did an epic training across the weekend for clinic owners around the topic of, you may have heard of it, AI. So we're going to talk what looks like about this. First question is, I'm just looking at my YouTube. I'm worried that my team will fear AI replacing them. So come on, what's the question on this one?
All right. So the question we have here is from North Carolina, Jordan Whitmore.
Yep.
If I bring in AI, my staff will think I'm replacing them. How do I introduce AI without losing my team?
Okay, so we'll dig into that one on the back of this weekend's training. We're definitely going to get to that. Before we do, a reminder for everybody listening that the Cash Pay Summit is it's coming quick, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. More and more people are booking their seats for Hollywood. We cannot wait to see you. Cash Pay Summit. I'm celebrating 10 years of my mastermind community. And 10 years ago, so 2016, I was one of the very first marketing coaches, whatever you want to call me, who basically created a cash pay success community. We've scaled it to be one of the biggest, most enduring in the world. Many of the other people who've since started some kind of cash pay movement were probably in my seminar hall or on one of my courses, and I don't say that lightly. It's just a fact that majority of the people that have since gone on to start some kind of cash pay community learnt from me in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, that kind of era. So we are the fountain of youth, if you like. We are the eternal spring. It's where it all started from. Many of the strategies of cash pay came from Britain. Many of you might not know that, but I brought them over. Well, I didn't. I actually came to America to learn them, and I took them back to Britain to my clinic, made them work at scale. And I was a very successful solo to multi-location cash practice owner in the United Kingdom, where healthcare is free. So I started my journey 2010, 11-ish to really grow and scale beyond my reputation, and that took me to America. I learned the marketing strategies from a guy called Dan Kennedy, built a full location clinic that I have since licensed, and shared it with everybody, basically, or as many people as I could, and we've built an incredible movement, and that movement is coming to Los Angeles, Hollywood for the Cash Pay Summit. So please head over cashpaysummit.com for your own good. Be there. And I'm going to give you a little reason to be there. Let's do this. $20,000 is easy to get to as a solo practitioner. Anything north of $50,000, now it starts to get funky. So if you haven't got past $50,000 yet in your cash pay clinic, I know that you are using an outdated model to grow a cash practice. and I know that you're not using the right people leverage, team leverage, systems leverage, probably not using AI, and really you're playing chess, not checkers. You just keep moving around the board sideways, and wherever you look, you just keep hitting your head. So it's a game of chess, guys. We can move around the board very, very differently, and I'll show you the new way to build a cash practice in 2026 that could, and I've got beyond any reasonable doubt proof of business models that I've worked with from scratch, well, within $100,000 kind of revenue mark, to $1.5–2 million that the business owner makes $175,000 in salary and anywhere between $250,000 and $300,000 in profit. Let that sink in. So we will be showcasing that model in Los Angeles. So we're coming to the West Coast. Please tell your friends, tell your colleagues that we're coming across to the West Coast. The Planet Paul community will be there, and there is the Cashies that's taking place on the Saturday evening between 6 and 10. You've heard of the Grammys, you've heard of the ESPYs. Well, I've created the Cashies, and we're going to recognize, quite rightly, 12 amazing businesses that have built incredible cash PT businesses, and we're going to create awards, gala style, for them on the Saturday evening. Where else to do it than Hollywood? So cashpaysummit.com. We release the tickets in batches of 10, and every time we do, the price rises. So whenever you go to the page, cashpaysummit.com, you will see the lowest price tickets available. It's a 4-day event if you want to spend the Thursday with me as well. So we always fill up. You know how this works. You've probably seen my events over the years. Please come and see us. We have the most amazing community, the most successful, the most handsome community as well. So if you consider yourself to be a good-looking guy or girl, then you are welcome in my community. Everybody else, go see Danny or somebody else, right? Like whatever. Like we just good-looking guys and girls only, please. I'm only joking. We are an inclusive community. Let's put it that way. So yes, come on over to California and see us. We will be in LA. So let's get on with it then. Let's get on with the show. I appreciate it's All-Star Weekend, but it doesn't really appeal to me. I must admit, I have zero interest in it. Did you watch any of it?
No, just a little bit of the Olympics, but that's it.
Oh, the Olympics. Now, the Olympics keeps popping into my news feed, right? Have these Olympians decided if they're coming back to America yet? I can't work out. Come on. Are they coming back, or are they all staying in Italy?
I don't even know.
I think they might get a shock if they just hang around in Italy for 3 to 6 months. All might be forgiven in America when they realise that life is a little bit different in socialist fucking very difficult Europe, right? And Italy is hardly it's a beautiful country, by the way, but I suspect they might just get a little bit of a shock, some of these people who think that the grass is greener on the other side. So has there been any more? How's America doing, by the way? I seen Britain won 2 gold medals the other day, which is cool for us.
I did see that. The U.S. women's ice hockey team beat Sweden 5-0. They're going to get the gold medal games coming up.
Wasn't somebody having a fight the other night? I was in the tavern in my local Celebration pub, and I did see that 2 coaches were going at each other. Whatever it might have been hockey. It was 5-0. There was a team 5-0, 5-0, whatever you call it here. Who was it? Jen? Curling. Was it curling? Is that what it was? Canada.
Oh, curling.
Canada. Was it the USA against Canada? Somebody find out. Anyway, it was all kicking off in the curling competition on the TV the other night. 2 coaches were really going against each other. So, yeah, I do get the occasional pop up of the athletes in Italy. I actually don't know what competition they're in. It just seems the only competition is how do I bash America and who can do it the most. That seems to be the goal. I could have sworn that the original goal was to go get a gold medal in these competitions, but it seems to be the goal is who can bash America the most and get the most views on Instagram. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So right, let's get into it. Jen's going to feed us back whether it was the Canadian against the Americans curling. What was the question?
All right, so we got Jordan Whitmore in North Carolina.
Who was it, Jen?
Sweden.
Sweden. Canadians against Sweden.
Yeah, Canadian Sweden.
Yeah, I can imagine that being a real serious debate. That the earth was shattering against Canada and Sweden in curling. Just like, I mean. There'll have been at least 600 people watching that around the world, I'd imagine, wasn't there?
At least. That's good.
God bless Canada. We love Canada. Right, come on.
All right, Jordan Whitmore, North Carolina. If I bring in AI, my staff will think I'm replacing them. How do I introduce AI without losing my team?
Oh. How do I introduce AI without losing my team? Well, there's a few things here. First, there's an absolute inevitability of two things. Number one, that you need to implement AI. So we're going to have to cross that bridge. And number two, there's an absolute inevitability that you may lose your team, right? And I think that's great, because let me say something that's not politically correct. Some of your team should be fucking replaced already at this point, right? So AI is going to do you a favor, because some of you listening to this have probably hung around with your staff for too long, that you've kept and tolerated for 12 to 18 months, even though they don't follow scripts. They don't like talking about your new prices. They don't sell packages and programs on your behalf because they've got some opinion against it, or it doesn't make them feel good about themselves to talk about money or what other bullshit people like to come out with. They love to ask you for pay rises, but they don't like to talk about your requests for higher prices in your office. Has anybody noticed that one in PT clinics? So I think the reality is AI, for some of you, it's going to be a filter. And I would encourage you to use AI as that filter for, we are using AI. This is not for debate, guys, right? This is real leadership inside of my office. We are using AI. We just need to figure out where we're going to use it, when we're going to use it, and how quickly and how efficiently we're going to be able to do it for the good of the business and its growth. And if I get somebody who immediately objects to that, well, AI has done me a favor and revealed themselves to me as to who is likely to be the biggest pain in my ass for the next 6 to 12, 18 months. And I would guarantee you, pound bets 10, that you already know in your mind's eye who the individual is that will object to AI, because it's the same individual who objected to your price rises. It's the same individual who objected to you selling Shockwave. It's the same individual who objected to working on a weekend. It's the same individual who objected to the new marketing system. And it's the same individual, right? Shall we keep going? It's the one that you already know needs to be removed from the business, right? The cancer inside of the business. Ironically, I put a post out this morning on my Instagram, right? And for those of you who are not following me on Instagram, please do it, because this is where a lot of the conversation moves to after the podcast. And this is where you submit your question, at the Paul Goff. And I put it on this morning about how Kevin Mao, who's coming up on a podcast soon, you'll hear from him. He's in California. And we had a quite edgy conversation about building a business in a state like California, where politically it's not aligned with business owners and what business ownership is about, and the mindset of a business owner and the beliefs of a business owner. In fact, it's absolutely night and day polarized, right? It's the other way. So Mr. Newsom, in his glory, likes to kind of take all business owners' money and then make it very, very difficult for business owners to be successful. So he's completely misaligned with what is required of being successful. And we got to talking about of a business that he needs the taxes for. We got to talking about how you are more likely in some states, right? You're more likely in some states to have an enemy within your business than in other states. And California, I would wager, is a state, and this is from me doing this for 10 years, that might have a business owner at the helm with one set of views about life and business and success and even capitalism. Are we allowed to say capitalism still? Am I allowed in 2026? Yeah.
I hope so.
Man, there's a cancelled. We'll have to put explicit, right? Jen, please put explicit rated content on this podcast. Paul just used the word capitalism on a podcast in 2026. Holy shit, right? This is close to saying COVID back in 2020, right? Everything gets shut down. So we have a business owner who may have some kind of capitalistic tendency, let's say it, right? Who believes in working hard and, sacrifice and discipline and standards and following kind of rules of business and life and personal responsibility. All of the things that, let's just say, Mr. Newsom might not agree with, right? Because he doesn't want those things in people's lives. It's just not the way he thinks it should be. And so what is likely to happen is inside of this business, right? I'm not saying that it is in yours or in Kevin's or anybody else's. I'm saying it's significantly more likely in certain states that the enemy within is actually working against you, because they have completely different views of the world, which is absolutely fine, by the way. Phrase, my favorite, crack on, do whatever you want. You go believe in whatever you want, support whatever you want, campaign for whatever you want, be whoever you want, right? I'm all about it. But it's going to be very difficult if you're coming into my world and you believe that everybody should have everything for free and nobody should have to work and prices should be suppressed and all of these things that, kind of some states and some governors and mayors want to do these days. that is completely opposite to what I need for a successful business, right? Whatever way we dress it up, I need a certain way of thinking and belief inside of a business. And if I don't get it, it's going to make it very, very difficult for my business to be successful. And I think there isn't enough consideration to this in businesses, that business owners are getting that enemy within, if you like, who starts as one, who starts silently and all of a sudden doesn't like certain things and doesn't like the idea of price rises and goes out and buys a Billy Elliot fucking album and just falls in love with Billy's view of the world, that everybody is bad and everybody is capitalist lackeys and shouldn't have this and shouldn't have the other, and all of this stuff. And that's absolutely fine. You go do all of that. I'm good for you. But it really isn't going to work inside of a business that is required to put profit first. And as I said on the Instagram post today, yes, profit first. Because unless I prioritize first, every other decision is irrelevant inside of a business. Except the only other decision, are you ready for this? And all of your employees, you can play this too. The only other decision that exists inside of a business, if I refuse to put profit first, is this one. How much debt am I willing to go into? How much debt am I as the business owner willing to go into is the only decision that exists if I fail to prioritize profit, because that's all that's left. If I don't focus on the decisions required to find profit for the business, the only decision is which bank I ask for a line of credit or a loan to bail me out, or to refinance my home, whatever it would be. And this is something that's grossly misunderstood in today's very, very confused marketplace about how life and success really, really works. And the key words are personal responsibility, right? That which we all have for each other and for ourselves, and for getting out of bed on a morning and committing to work and how we use our time, and whether it's Netflix or reading a book, whether it's reading a book or falling asleep on a sun lounger, whether it is going to the gym or not, whether it's healthy salmon on an evening or it's a pizza the night before that makes me tired. These are all decisions that are called personal responsibility. Now, it is a dying trade these days. It's a dying art. Very, very blessed that I was turned onto it before today's PC bullshit might have influenced me, because of Instagram and all of the other places now that it's so easy to be influenced by. But I think for this business owner, there's a very good chance, if you are worried about your staff turning against you, I think you already know privately that you've got the wrong staff. That's the mic drop. That if you already are worried about your staff turning against you and are fearful of that response and how that plays out, I think you already know in your heart of hearts that you might have the wrong staff. And that's the thing that AI is exposing. And what you'll say is that I'm not ready for AI, and you'll say my town isn't ready for AI, and you'll say that it's going to lessen my patient experience, and you'll say that clients won't trust me because I've got a robot that answers the phone, and all of these other things, like many, many business owners will for the next 10 years, by the way. You'll keep saying all of these things. And really what it does is it buys you another month, another year from having to face up to, I've got staff members that don't support me. I would be using AI as a filter, a wrecking ball, a grenade inside of the business. I'd throw the grenade, I'd close the door, and I'd let them figure it out for themselves. And I'd go off to Starbucks, or if I was in California, I'd go off to my juice bar or whatever it might be and spend $38 on a carrot juice. But I would expose very quickly who is on my team, because I guarantee you, what was this guy's name?
This one was Jordan.
Jordan. I guarantee you, Jordan, that this is not just an AI problem. This is they don't like my prices. They don't like the packages. They don't like me selling Shockwave or other forms of treatments inside of our business. And I bet you've been tolerating this for 2 or 3 years. Now, let's just say there is a genuine, just heightened interest in how AI might affect us as employees. And I think we should consider that as well. There can't be a visceral nervous response, which is I'm not doing it, because if there is, that person's gone immediately. Jordan, gone. If there is can I just have a conversation about how this might affect me, which you should invite and be comfortable with having, then I think that's a different conversation. And that just is a very simple sit down that says you probably don't want to be doing most of the repetitive tasks that AI is going to replace. And let's talk about how we move you from repetitive tasks and upgrade to more care. Because you can't give great quality of service to the guy or girl in your treatment room or reception when the phone rings and I have to interrupt that conversation, or one phone line rings and I have to put somebody else on hold and tell them to stay there for 5 or 6 minutes, or I don't get back to somebody for 12 hours, 36 hours, whatever it might be. People are more likely to distrust you because you didn't call them for 2 days than speaking to an AI agent that at this point already, even in February 2026, is human-like. In fact, I'm going to say is probably better than humans, because the problem with most humans on the phone these days, they simply don't give a shit. They've lost their energy. I'm not saying everybody, but 9 out of 10 people who answer the phone, there's no purpose to the phone call. There's no energy to their phone call. There's no love of answering the phone. There's no desire. There's no hunger to love somebody. Hey, it's Monday morning. Thanks for calling Polgoff Physio Rooms. So cool of you to call me. Thank you very much. We appreciate your business. Tell me with a straight face that level of energy is going on inside of your business. Or is it some version of, good morning, you're through to Polgoff Physio Rooms. How can I help? No energy, no attempt to take the name, no attempt to understand problems emotionally and goals and outcomes. There just isn't, because there's no time inside of businesses. There's no training inside of businesses. And as a result, the customer experience is affected. So I think there is a sit-down conversation with all of the staff that says, we are doing this. This is non-negotiable. But what I will do is talk to you about how it means you can advance around here, and we can maybe get you more responsibility around here, or you can go back to doing the thing that you thought you were going to do in the first place, which was love on my clients and be the best version of yourself in my office, versus being a robot that just is constantly doing repeated tasks all day, every day. So I think there's a few answers there. Number one, you could use AI as a filter and actually get rid of the enemy within anyway, the 1 or 2 people who aren't supporting you. Obviously, that requires a reasonable set of balls for you to do that. But if they don't like AI, trust me, they don't like your prices, they don't like your sales process, they don't like your marketing message, they think you're salesy, you think you're sleazy. They ain't telling you all of this to your face. They don't need to, because their actions are telling you that they don't like how or what you're doing inside of the business. And AI was just another thing for them to feel good about themselves. And never forget, most people are addicted to the drama, right? That drama has become their life, right? In the absence of drama, it actually exposes how shit their life is. So what do people have to do? Well, they have to start fires, don't they, right? Because the bigger the fire, the bigger the drama, the more things that are going on, then the less they have to think about how shit their own life is. That's as old as time, and that's what's going on in the world. And unfortunately now it's even bigger and more prolonged, because if I'm having a shit day, I can just go home and geek out on TikTok or Instagram and find somebody else who's having a shit day and get angry about that. So we're watching all of this compound quickly be a 4-hour very, very eyes. Where this ends, I don't know. The real biggest issue is not AI. The real biggest issue is the behavior change that you are watching attitudinally of individuals around the world, that is accelerating at the speed that I'm not worried about AI's speed. I'm worried about the attitudinal change of human beings and individuals when it comes to their personal responsibility, their own work ethic, their own standards, their own I will achieve and I will find a way to build my own home, my own house, my own whatever it will be, on whatever land it will be, and make a success of themselves. And anybody with a straight face living in the United States, please try and tell me how in this day and age in any Western country there isn't a chance for you to climb a step or two up a ladder higher than you are today, whatever your position is. If you take personal responsibility, you're in the greatest country in the world. Anyway, right, what's next?
All right, we got Marcus Ellison. He is in Spokane, Washington.
I've been to Spokane.
Really? Is it nice?
It's a beautiful little place. One of my favorite clients, still with me to this day, a guy called Luke Gordon. Gordon PT is in Spokane, and I went to see him in 2018 time. So it's an absolutely beautiful quintessential place. In fact, if it wasn't as far away with 5 kids these days, I'd love to go back. But even that's just a stupid excuse, because it's beautiful. Yeah, it really is. And Luke's cool.
All right. Well, he says, my front desk says they are trying, but 3 voicemails went unanswered. Is this a people problem or a system problem?
Both, probably. And again, assuming that we have got the first box that we need to tick is that we've got attitudinally aligned staff who do want to do their job properly, who don't just let the phone ring because the kettle's boiling or there is some other distraction that stops them from actually doing something that makes money. Assuming we've got that, then it probably is a system problem. And this is something that business owners have to face up to. Everyone listening to this, you want terrific lives, right? You want freedoms, you want time, you want to be in Europe, you want to be off on a weekend, you want to be finished at 3 on a Friday so you can pick your kids up, you want the flexibility to start at 9:30 because you can drop your kid off on a morning and hang around in the playground. All of that is amazing, and I do all of that, and you should want all of that. But reputation alone doesn't get you there, and I will say this forever and a day. I don't care how good you are as a PT and how good you are, your reputation is. The reality is a good reputation in the end gets you stuck if you rely upon it because everybody wants you, and that's the problem. Everybody wants you. At some point, you have to face up to it. I have a fork in the road as a business owner. Do I keep relying upon reputation and stay stuck? Or, yes, it might be a bit fearful and a bit, what am I going to learn and what could go wrong? I take the other fork in the road and I realize that a business needs not just a good reputation, it needs systems, it needs tools, and it needs things that allow for leverage inside of the business, of which something like AI, hear me out as you listen to this or drive, whatever you're doing. The idea that in 2026 you are still letting things go to voicemail, we shouldn't even be speaking about it in 2026. 2025 was the year of voice AI. AI's already moved on to other things, CFO, financial intelligence, clinic brains, owners having their own AI so that staff can access it on a daily basis, just training. There's so many things now, so many sort of specific niche type agents that we can be using that we should be talking about. Voice AI was 2025. So in 2026 to still have a answer machine or a voicemail problem going on inside of your business, we're already a year behind, guys. So there's no excuse, but I'm not going to sit here and say just plug AI in. I'm going to say really think about what you want for your business, because if you're relying upon reputation, you're going to keep running into problems everywhere. Headaches, time constraints, people constraints, client constraints. Everybody will want you, and you'll just begin to resent everybody around you. But if I do my job as a business owner, which it is, by the way, to find the systems, build the systems, get coaching on the systems, find people who are building systems and go hire them or freelance them, whatever, right? All of these things are my job as a CEO of a thrive or a growing business. And if it isn't, I've got fake ambition. And if I've got fake ambition, that's the most frustrating place in the world, because you're telling yourself you want to do something, but your actions reveal otherwise. And each week, each month, somebody's patting you on the back saying you're trying and you're working hard and keep going. And I couldn't let you believe that that's going to happen, right? If that was one of my kids, I'd be like, dude, you can't. That's the rules of business ownership require you to spend the first couple of years grinding your nuts off, right? Working all day, every day. Yes to the 16-hour days. Yes to the, getting in on a night at 8, 9 o'clock and giving up a little bit and losing some of your friendships and losing some time with your family. And it just does. But if I'm still doing it 2 or 3 years later, then I really haven't understood the rules of business ownership. I don't understand the game of business, and sadly many don't. And so the next 10 years becomes I'm working on it, and I'm trying, and this is my year, and all of these things. And meanwhile, there's another business owner who's 10 years younger who comes along and just goes, yeah, I've put an AI on my front desk, and I don't need a human anymore. There's a reality to there's a guy listening to this podcast, and this is what my prediction, Jason. Are you ready for this? There's a guy or a girl listening to this podcast now, 24 years old, listening to me on the way to college, PT school, who I suspect will run a business for 2 years, humanless, and will have a better business than a clinic owner right now, 35, whose entire mindset is around, I need to hire a human to do a job for 50 grand a year. And yet the 24-year-old listening to me right now, who comes out of college and starts a cash practice in a gym, moves immediately for AI, both marketing and voice, in and outbound, will get to an incredible level of success in business within months and never have to deal with the emotional conflict of, do I hire a human? And if so, how much is that going to cost me? And that constraint is costing most business owners years as they deliberate what to do next. So the guy or girl at college right now, PT school in Miami or wherever, listening to this, is never going to hire a human for a long, long, long time. And yet will have human level-esque service throughout. And the patients will be responded to within seconds. Appointments will be booked and changed. Leads on Instagram and Facebook will be followed up within seconds. Marketing content will be created in 2 hours as opposed to a week. The clinic owner will, in 20 minutes on their break, create a viral banger that is out on Instagram while they are treating 4 other patients, and checks it at 6 o'clock to realize that 3,000 people viewed it. Meanwhile, the 35-year-old clinic owner is still deliberating over AI, or 45 or 55-year-old who's in the old model of thinking that we need humans to do everything, but then doesn't realize they're actually not employing humans because they're deliberating over the cost of the humans, continues in that loop for another 5 or 10 years, and the business never actually got off the ground. And it'll piss them off. It'll absolutely irritate the crap out of the old thinking business owners when they see these new kids coming out of college and they're all using the technology. And I remember saying this about social media 10 years ago, and Google ads and email marketing. I was like, if you don't start email marketing or Facebook or Google ads, when these guys 10 years younger than you come out of college, they will kick your ass because they've been indoctrinated around this technology. They've been using it. They're comfortable with it. They're on it. They're all producing videos all day, every day for themselves on TikTok and Instagram as 16, 18-year-old kids. So it's safe for them when they're 25 to do the same for their businesses. They don't have the stereotypical old-fashioned thinking that many in our profession do. And I put it to you as you listen to this. That's the reason that businesses aren't grown. It's the old-fashioned, outdated thinking, and what we need is some fresh, new thinking, a little bit of real-time, real response to the business, so that we can get it moving. And I can imagine up in Spokane, right? I can imagine in Spokane it's not a cosmopolitan. It's a beautiful little town. Don't get me wrong, right? But it's not probably Seattle or the equivalent. There might be a little bit of skepticism around technology and AI, and is this newfangled thing just some bullshit that's going to come and go. I imagine there is a little bit of, that type of thinking. So there is there is no need to fear it. And if we're missing calls and it's going to voicemail in 2026, there isn't any excuse for it anymore. So I think it's a people problem, in that the staff are overworked, most likely. But it's a business owner problem because they aren't making the decision to use the available technology that is there now, that other pioneers have already proved works at scale across multiple cities and towns in multiple countries. So there we go.
All right. We got Trevor Simpson in Omaha, Nebraska. I launched an offer last week. It got 2 likes. One was my mom. Why is no one seeing my stuff?
I mean, the good news is your mother loves you, right? Which I always try to find the positives in the negatives. There are many people in the world whose mothers wouldn't even like their own son's posts. So let's start there, right? There will be lots of mothers who didn't appreciate or like or want their children to be entrepreneurs and would prefer for them to have real jobs in corporate America somewhere, so that they can clearly explain to their friends that Paul is a director of some big health clinic in the United States versus a risky one-man band, solo practitioner, working out of a smelly gym or kind of gym on the street corner somewhere downtown in a rough part of town, right? So good for you. We've got the first like, right? And by the looks of it, we've got the second like. Yeah. So we've got 2 likes. Now, the reality could be one of 2 things. A, there just isn't enough interest in the video or the offer or the thing. And that nearly always happens because the business owner doesn't spend enough time thinking about who the video was for. So on social media today, you don't need 1 million followers. In fact, followers are almost irrelevant these days. What we need is an absolute razor-sharp crystal clarity on who our business owners are, our clients are, what their challenges are, what their problems are, what they're living with, what issues they've got, what they're worried about, and what do they want to watch when they get into bed at night at 9 o'clock and Netflix is on one eye and the phone is on the other. What do they want to see? It's not what you want to give them; it's what do they want to see. And I think that's where most people go wrong in business. They violate the rules and they obsess over Instagram or TikTok or the media, the platform. And the rule in business is, who is the customer? And if I know who that customer is, it becomes very easy for me to create content for that business. And the second thing is, it leads straight into AI. Anybody that is putting out videos today without first using AI to guide them and help them to create the hooks and the content and the message and the positioning and the persona and the profile of who their patient is, and then using the tool called AI to create that video in 15 minutes flat, what are you doing? Again, it's like the voicemail situation. We can now get to a point where we can put 3 or 4 videos out a day that used to take a week, right? 2 weeks to do. So we don't mind if one only gets a like of our mother and sister. What we want is one that we release of the 3 or 4 that reaches 3,000 or 4,000 people and gets 6 people to send you a DM and say, hey, I'm interested in working with you. And again, this is an entrepreneur's mindset. It's an entrepreneur, business owner mindset. It isn't a defeatist mindset that says I'll do one video and I'll spend 3 days, a week planning it and it hopefully works. Repetition and consistency wins. Luckily for us now, unprofessional wins as well. Anything that looks too professional, anything that looks polished, you won't get much views or interest. The algorithm isn't going to reward that. What people want is authenticity. They want, let's go, let's plug and play. Let's really talk to me about my problems at the soul level, the vulnerability level, and start to open up and be of interest to people. And that's a challenge for PT practices, because the business owners always had a shield called their certificate and their qualifications and their clinic, and they hide behind their LLC and their treatment room, and you come into my world. Well, what we've got with social media is I've got to go into your world, and that's frightening for most clinic owners. Like, we don't normally do that. Most people step into our world, whereas on social media, I've got to step into your world. And I think that rules 90% out immediately from ever being successful in marketing, because they think the patient should come to them. And that's not the case, never has been. Yes, we got away with it for many decades because doctors sent patients to physios, or insurance companies did, and the profession came lethargic. Scratch that, those days are gone. And if you in that model, as you're finding out, like, you might get the clients, but you ain't making much money. So I think clearer identification, using AI tools to get more videos created so that we can find out what headline, what offer, what message worked, and then we use AI again to work out how we scale that message even deeper and further from there, and it becomes quite Darwinian. So old thinking, one video, let's see how it goes, spend a week doing it. New thinking, use AI, 30 minutes maximum to create it, and let's create 4. Find out what headline, what hook, what offer, what message worked the best. Come back the next day, create 4 more versions of that video where we go deeper into that message, that offer, and that hook, and off we go again. And the whole thing is just Darwinian, and it moves on. It moves on from there. So there you go. There's the answer. What else?
Cool. We got Nolan Pierce in Oregon. My team are mostly liberal.
Oh, hang on. You can't do this to me, Jay. Yeah. All right.
They're holding me back from implanting AI.
Oh, man, I'm going to get...
They're worried about climate change.
Oh, my goodness.
How do I align my team?
Oh, my goodness. What I like to say at the start of the show is I answer the questions that nobody else wants to, right? And I've often said no question is off limit. But when you start the question with, my team are liberal, there's only one place this goes, right? This can transcend into a clusterfuck of conversations. Give it to me again. Let me decide whether I'm going to answer it. Go again.
My team are mostly liberal. They're holding me back from implanting AI.
What did you say? Is that the problem?
Yeah.
Joke. Before you cancel me or switch me off or whatever your political opinion is, I'm joking. I'm bringing some much needed lightheartedness to this thing. So anyway, we've got a liberal team, yeah, and a Republican business owner, I suspect.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're worried about climate change.
Okay.
How do I align my team?
I've got a liberal team, a Republican business owner. Most of the staff are worried about climate change. How do I align them? You don't. You can't, is the answer, right? You ain't going to win this one. There's no way in a million years do you win this. Human behavior is consistent 88% of the time, and I wish people would realize this. I've used it many times in my office, and nobody take this the wrong way, but if you have a certain religious belief, and I need you to believe this religious belief, right? Like, if you've got a God and I've got a God, and what I'm saying is my God is superior and you must follow the rules of my God, it's not going to work in any way, shape or form, right? So there's no option but for me to start to really analyze and look at it. Have I got the wrong people inside of my business? Not the wrong people because they're wrong in any way, shape or form. Not what I'm saying here. But it goes back to if I'm building an empire, right? I'm building a castle. It requires me to follow a certain set of rules, and the workers of that castle or helping me build that castle have to follow a certain view. Now, if I've got 3 of the workers who think that they shouldn't have to arrive at work and they can all go home when they want, and they believe that they can somehow build the castle by working from home on a Zoom line, and they think that the price that we're going to charge for the castle that we're building is too high, and not many people can afford that, and that's not fair, and that's not right, and we shouldn't be selling this to people at this price, and all of those things. What we're hearing there is their view of the world. That's called their values and their beliefs. And I don't care how long you've been in business, how wonderful you think you are, and how amazing you think you are, how much money you've made, what successes you've had in life. I guarantee you the success that you will never have is that you alone will change somebody's values and beliefs. Not going to happen. So there needs to be an acknowledgement that there may be a slight misalignment here, but zero effort or time can be wasted on whether or not we are implementing this thing into the business. Or I spend the next 5 to 10 years living within myself, going home on a night, taking it out on my wife or my husband, venting, being frustrated in my own personal time, feeling like a shadow of myself because I am not living true to my values and who I am and what I want. And that is the scenario for most business owners, is that they live within themselves, they are perpetually frustrated, they are harmonious leaders. And what that means is they seek harmony in the business, not real growth leadership, not big decisions that are going to ruffle some feathers, that might cause people to quit, that might cause people to leave. And they've been sucked into that way of running a business for so long now it feels normal. But unbeknown to them, they're going home on a night and they're not the best versions of themselves. They haven't got the energy that comes with the pride you have in living true to your values. Much like your staff want to live to their values, well, you have to live to yours. And unfortunately, the leader has to go first. Like, that's the only way that the plane flies, is that the pilot goes first, right? The pilot's at the front of the plane for a reason, right? He's flying the fucking thing. We all have to follow, right, at the back. Now, obviously, different opinions and views and various things on the plane, it's irrelevant. But inside of a business, I have to drive that business forward regardless. So you're not going to like the answer. And it could be that I have a Republican business owner or a liberal business owner who's got Republican staff who they love Trump and he doesn't, or she doesn't, whatever. Who gives a shit, right? We have to find a way to be successful regardless. And that can't be I'm right about climate change and you're not, or you're wrong and I'm right. We can't lead there because that's not leadership. What we lead with is guys, this is the future of healthcare. The modern practice, the AI first clinic, is going to look like this. Patients are going to expect speedy response times. They're going to expect to be called back within seconds, not waiting 26 to 36 hours. They're not going to expect voicemails. They want instant replies. They want clarity. They want their questions answered. The AI, the future clinic relies upon a strong marketing message and a strong brand and consistency on social media and hooks and attention, and using social media as a vehicle for our message created by AI, right? Because this is the truth. And the only other option that we have, guys, and this is me talking to the team at this point now, and I don't care if this is liberal, if this is Republican, I'm sitting at the head of the table in my office and I'm saying, I've got a choice here. If I don't move forward in this world, in this brave world of AI now, I risk becoming a burnt out, worked out solo practitioner, right? Because I'm not going to implement AI and I'm not going to get my staff. I run the risk, number 2, of becoming a buyout for big hospital chains who look at my business model that is drowning in debt with no profit, and I get a phone call from somebody who says, we'll take that off your hands, who then happens to be using AI and social media and all of the things we've just discussed, wraps that business up into a bigger, more efficient model and gets more people and more profit inside of that business. Or option number 3, I remain a very struggling, very economically challenged insurance model business that I can't wait to close the doors on. That is the only option I've got, guys. So now I've told you the truth and I've laid my heart on my sleeve. Who still wants to worry about climate change in 300 years as a result of AI? And what I'm going to invite you all to do is, after this meeting is over, it's not going to take place today where 7 of you hyenas are going to jump on me and you all gang up on me. What I'm going to do is, now I've told you where the business is headed and why we need to use AI and what the reasons for it are to protect jobs and to grow businesses and continue to serve our clients. If you have a problem with that, I'm going to invite you to come to my office one-on-one and you can bring me your genuine concerns and absolute proof of where this AI thing is headed and how it's going to affect polar ice caps melting and so on and so forth. You are very, very welcome to do that. And then at the end, if we can't agree on the best steps, what we'll do is amicably, adult to adult, human to human, we'll have a conversation about what the exit looks like. And we'll do that drama free. I'll write you a great reference. I'll give you as much time as you need to go find some new roles. And I will immediately put up a replacement ad on Indeed or Jazz HR or whatever. And we can end this amicably like adults. Now, the reality is they're not going to do that. But I don't give a shit what the other person does at this point, because that was the right way to handle it. I'm not trying to be right for the need to be right about my opinion on climate change. At this point, I don't have an opinion on climate change throughout this conversation. What I have is an opinion on the facts, the absolute facts, the undeniable facts that have been existent for hundreds of years about what is required to grow a business. The fact that my job as the CEO is to grow that business, to continue to build it for and on behalf of my family, that then simultaneously provides jobs and good jobs for people in my town, that then allows us to serve and offer better quality healthcare in the town than anybody else. That is my job as the business owner, not to align with you on climate change, period. And if I don't live like that, then I am not being true to myself here. And if you need to be true to yourself and your climate change demands, then you need to leave my office. But I need to be true to myself and my demands for and on behalf of this business, because I've got these 5 kids at home who rely upon me. And at this point of my life, I give a shit more about my 5 kids and the roof over their head and the fact that they go to school and that they've got food and water on the table and that they have got a good quality of life than the potential of what AI may or may not do in 300 years. And shoot me down, if you would like, for saying that, right? In unsubscribe from the podcast or unsubscribe from me, the email list, whatever, right? Zero interest in it. Because I'm not trying to turn this into a political conversation. This is a leadership first conversation that basically is what needs to happen between 2 grown adults that have a conversation that ultimately respects both people's situations. I don't need to be right, neither do you, but I do need you to move out of this business if you don't want to implement the tools, the strategies, and the ways of operating that allows this business to be profitable. And then what we might do, Sally, if climate change is a big deal for you, what I am open to doing is you finding multiple ways inside of my office and even in my life at home, hand delivered to me, all of the different ways that I can contribute meaningfully towards climate change. So in exchange for your participation in my AI need in my business, me and my family will take part in your best efforts to show me where I can make meaningful change in my life that would reduce the effect of climate change, where I can offset my footprint, carbon footprint, right? Whatever you call it. If you don't want to do that, well, now you just want an argument that you need to win. And what I've just said there at the end of the conversation will floor 99% of your employees, by the way, if you do have that conversation with them. So we're going to do this, but But I do respect your opinion on climate change. And I'm open and willing for you to show me places in and around this office and even in my life, ways that I can contribute my carbon footprint that will lower the effect of climate change in 300 years. There you go. How's that?
That's good.
Where was that? What state were we in there? Oregon.
That was Oregon, yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
Last one.
We have Andre Lawson in New Mexico.
Andrea. Yep, let's go. I was where have I been in New Mexico? Las Cruces.
Okay.
Beautiful part of the world. Yeah.
I tried to do less, then I remembered I run a business. Can I grow without burnout?
I tried to do less, but then I remember I'm growing a business. Can I do? Absolutely. Can you do less without burnout? I mean, the whole point is to do less. The whole point is to do less and less. The goal is to become the laziest person that you know when it comes to what you do inside of the business. Andre, your goal, there's no medal for doing the most in the business, right? There's zero correlation between you doing the most and the most profit at the end of the month. Zero. Nada. But this is the old model of thinking I keep going back to. This is what we've been told by our ancestors for the last 200 years, that if you work hard and you build it, they'll come. And you usually were told that by people who never actually made it or built it. You go talk to somebody that made it and built it, they'll tell you to work hard to a point, and then you got to find leverage. Other people's time, other people's money. You've got to risk with recruitment. You've got to put the best systems in play, the best technology, the best tools, all of these things. And so there's a incessant need for business owners to feel important because of them doing more and more and more. And that's their way of feeling important. It's an insecurity that if I do things, I feel important. But then I go home on a night and my wife wants to kill me because I haven't seen the kids. But I felt important for a few hours while I was at work till 8 o'clock. And instead of feeling important and continuously repeating the same tasks over and over and over again, whether it's recruitment or phone calls or clinical notes or marketing, whatever, what I should be doing is going, I need to stop the madness, right? I've got to stop this madness, and I need to take time from repeatedly doing tasks which constantly feel important or urgent. And I got to step back and I got to go, how do I redeploy that time into a system or a tool or a strategy or something that's scalable beyond me? Because if I don't, everything I've got now is all I've ever got. And that should land with people. That everything. For those of you who listening to this who refuse to face up to AI or marketing systems or leverage and other people, everything you've got now is all you will ever get. And I hope if you're happy with the car, cool. If you're happy with the house, cool. If you're happy with the salary, cool. If you're happy with the freedom that you've got, cool. But it doesn't get better by you working harder. Once you get past that first 2 or 3 years, you've built your reputation, people like you, they like your energy, they like your customer service. After that, it's absolutely about leverage, systems and tools and doing your job as a business owner, switching off that incessant need to be busy, which is you basically faking importance, and finally starting to do work. And this is the bit I'll tell you all of the money that you want to make, the level of money that you want to make gets made when you operate in private. The things that you do when nobody else sees, the patients don't see, the staff don't see, the work that you do, whether it's the thinking time, whether it's the architecture of the systems, whether it's the deploying the capital that you hire somebody to come and upgrade the thinking or the team or the system or the coaching, all of the work that nobody else notices is the work that gives you the salary that you want for the type of life. And that's so hard for people because they're so used to gratifying work where somebody says, well done, that was great, you're amazing, and so on and so forth. They get so used to that type of life that when you then need to sit down in silence for 2 weeks and write a book or study or go get AI or build it or implement it or work with a team on getting it in or whatever it will be, because it doesn't feel like you've achieved anything. A workshop, a webinar, the 2 weeks in the build-up to a webinar is horrible for me. You're always questioning, is somebody going to show up? I would have spent 2 days or however many hours building this thing and time on a weekend and all of this stuff. What if nobody shows up? Well, yesterday we did a webinar and 100 plus people did show up, and we walked away with 12 new clients for my company. So I go home last night and I'm like, yeah, it was worth it, wasn't it? Right? And Natalie says, how was your weekend? And I was like, yeah, it was worth it. Right? So all of that work that I put into it, it was worth it. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a devil in me for 2 weeks that thinks you could be doing something else now, Paul. Because I'm not getting paid at the time that I'm doing the work. But I've conditioned myself to realize that that's the highest value work. Usually, when I do work that I'm not getting paid for, it's not long after that I do get paid, and it's always significantly more than if I'm actually doing the work, right, where I'm getting paid, if that makes sense. So if I'm doing something that's directly attributable towards I did this, you give me the money, or you paid in advance and I delivered the thing, that's easy, right? And there's a reasonable compensation for that. But when I sit down and write marketing campaigns or write new books or build an AI company or work with companies talking about AI, building them into my ways into my business that might not work perfectly well, I could go weeks working on a project like that. That then gets implemented and it works. The outcome and the money that I get on the back end of that is 10x, 50x times anything that I do where I get an immediate transfer of money. And that's the bit that most business owners struggle with if you push me on it. They can't get their heads around busy work and gratifying work and important work versus real work, leverage work, high payoff work, high systems creation, meaning that in 3 years, the system that you built in 2022 is still working in 2025 or 2026. That's where the magic is, and that's also where all of the freedoms are. So freedom is earned. It isn't granted in any way, shape, or form when it comes to business ownership. You have to earn the right to be in that playground at 9:30 every day. You earn the right. Well, you can be in the playground at 9:30 every day or the yard, and you can be picking them up at 3 o'clock. But just make sure that there's enough money in the bank for you to have a nice life when you get home, right? Heating and AC and a home and a door actually costs money. So anybody can be in the playground with their kids or the yard with their kids after school or before school. But the real question is, how do you get the and in your life? How can I be there for my kids and take them home to a nice, warm, comfortable home without worrying about whether the credit card bill is going to arrive the next morning? It's the and life that's the magical life. But the and life requires you to earn it. You ain't going to be given it, and you have to earn the right to get it. That is the sacrifice, that is the time commitment, that is the money investment, that is the time investment. It is the risk, it's the doubt, the fear, it's the looking silly. It's all of the things that 99% of the world refuse to do in favor of an argument on Facebook tonight that they will never fucking win about something like whether AI and climate change are going to collide in the next 300 years. Absolutely good luck with that one. Meanwhile, somebody else is getting on with their life, getting on with their business, and making meaningful progress, meaningful change, consciously aware of their impact on the climate change if that's what they're interested in or bothered about, but not necessarily living from that place all day, every day at the expense of a terrific life for themselves and their family today. So the and life is the one. You can have the schoolyard stuff, the play yard, playground stuff if you want. You can have the home and the big home if you want, because you've spent 16 hours a day for the last 40 years accumulating cash but missed out on the kids. Or you can have the kids and the home. Choose wisely. It's 2026. Kids are making millions playing with Lego with a $300 GoPro camera sat in front of them. Don't tell me anything is impossible in the United States. And I don't give a fuck what those skiers say about this country. This is the fucking greatest country in the world for anything to do with opportunity. And still to this day, if you want to make a go of it and something of yourself and pick yourself up from almost zero and coming into the country, this is still the greatest country with a proven track record of that being the absolute reality for many, many people who arrive, and it is the reason that so many people want to be in the United States and take advantage of that, which maybe a few of those fucking skiers right now should be reminded of. But anyway, I bet they all get on the fucking flight from Italy. Anyway, put it that way. I'd love to see the new story about however many of them stayed in Italy, and fuckers, but that's another story. Anyway, right, that's enough for today's show. Happy with that?
Happy with it.
Good. Right. That's it. Thank you for everybody on Instagram who joined in. And thank you for the, I think that was a tough test today for Coffee with Goffy. The questions around the politics.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm feeling this podcast moving towards a little bit more depth, shall we call it. I'm just waiting for the one that says about Donald Trump. But Paul, I found out this week that my staff voted for. We will stay away from that one, please. But we'll talk about it if people want to talk about it. I've got nothing to lose at this point in my life. I'm very comfortable speaking about all of these topics. Something happens when you get into your 40s, or it certainly should, that you realise how fucking stupid most of the shit is that's going on around the world, and how much of a time suck most of the shit is for most people, and then they wonder why they've got pretty shitty lives. But anyway, we'll leave that for another episode. Somewhere else. Thank you. Well done. Our audience is growing every day, and we appreciate you. Please tell your friends, your clinic owner colleagues about us, and most importantly, tell them about the Cash Pay Summit. We would love you to be there. It's for you. It's the 10th anniversary of the Planet Paul Mastermind. 10 years ago we started it, and we're going to take it to Los Angeles, and I'm bringing many of the people that you've heard on this podcast, your Alison Feltz, your Jake Bermans, your Keith Rhodes, Kevin Vandy, Carrie Jose. They're all going to be there, the most recent episodes as well. There are people who will be happy to sit next to you and share with you their story. And I think for everybody listening to this, if you're listening to me, it's because you want to grow a business, probably a cash practice, or move towards cash. If you've taken the time to listen to me for an hour, 3 times this week or 4 or 5 times this week, which we can see people are jumping straight to the next episode and the next episode, it is going to be worth you getting on a flight and meeting me in Los Angeles and spending 3, even 4 days if you want with us, and just immerse yourself in success, in positivity, in fun, in laughter, in playfulness, and in good, honest, decent conversations about what it takes to be successful. Politics really is left out of my events, other than a little bit of poking fun at it. But in terms of what the content will be, it will be about success, how to be successful, how to enjoy being successful, and how to celebrate with each other for being successful. And in that respect, it's a pretty rare event. So we'd love to see you there. Head over at cashpaysummit.com. Los Angeles, May 1st, 2nd and 3rd for the first ever Global Cash Pay Summit featuring the Cashies. We're taking over Hollywood, and we're going to make the cash PT profession the absolute superstars of Los Angeles for that weekend in May. See you then. All right, thanks. See you soon.